Board games, board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, board games, I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off this morning with a little bit of singing, and here to this side of me is the person that we could call Tiz Creel is their surname. We have worked together upon a game, and our game is about bigotry. It has been signed by ITB, and Tiz Creel is an artist in many other ways. Tiz Creel has been living for many, many days. I mean, even 1 year is many, many days. So it is quite silly for me to say many, many days. But regardless, board games, is what we're talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. Hey!
Hello, hello.
Good morning. No, good morning, Sate. And I did not call Tiz Creel old. I just said that they've been living for many, many days. I mean, you've been living for more than 1,000 days.
Hopefully one day.
For more than 1,000 days. I mean, 1,000 days is less than 3 years.
Oh, right, days. Yeah. Well, yeah, I have.
Yes, as we have all. I mean, this program, just for the record, it's completely unsuitable if you've not lived at least 1,000 days. You know what? If you've got like a 2-year-old or a newborn in your lap, you know, it's probably fine. I don't know why I'm kind of ostracizing anyone. And morning, Dave. It is so lovely to see you all. And we have myself, I am Bez. It is approximately brunch time, and it is the Bezzy Brunchy board game Blether. And today, Tiz is talking about playful art.
That's correct. That's correct. That's what I do.
And to start us off, we're going to be talking about a brilliant thing. Brilliant thing. Here's little thing which is brilliant. Tiz, what is a thing which is brilliant?
Hats.
Hats. I mean, what's the point in a hat? Is it just a fashion accessory? Is it just to look fancy? Or is it to offer protection from the sun?
It is all of those things and more.
And more. Please explain.
So today I'm wearing a hat because my hair is not looking so good. But when the sun is out, it's also good to wear a hat. And it's also good to wear a hat sometimes, you know, when you don't want to be seen, when you want to have like a little bit of
inconvenience
in the crowd. So it's good to kind of like cover yourself, and now the days that you have to wear a mask, then if you wear the hat and the mask, then you feel very empowered. Like a spy.
You know, true story. I heard that police people, they wear the hat covering their eyebrows because apparently if you have a hat covering down to your eyebrows, it gives you a lot more authority. Maybe not with the lid because then it covers your eyes as well. But if you lift it off, just kind of, it's like, now you only see my eyes. You don't see my eyebrows. It's kind of concealing little bits of it.
In a way, yes, because your eyebrows say a lot about your nonverbal moves. Like it does speak a lot, the eyebrows. So if you cover them, then you don't get that feedback from the other person. But also I feel like it's intimidating in a way. You can see a lot of gangsters and stuff like that also wearing their beanies up to here, covering their eyebrows. So I do believe that it must be a technique. I'm not sure exactly what it is or what it means. I'm just speculating, but yeah.
And hats, I mean, is that literally true, Dave? Do you literally have hundreds of hats? I do want to know because I knew you liked hats, but I did not believe that you had hundreds. But regardless, I just want to say, hats are super awesome. Obviously, this is not the hat show. We are going to talk about games and arts in just a wee moment. But, they're great for fashion, they're great for expressing yourself, for concealing yourself, maybe for a light drizzle. They might stop something from getting on you. And if a bird poos on you, maybe it's easier to wash the hat than it is to wash your hair.
It's definitely easier. Well, at least you can at least take it off. I had a friend that once got pooped in the head. And she didn't have that.
Alan Outson says that 4th of August 2020 will be Alan's in your diaries. So 20,000. Oh, wait. 2021. A bit of miscalculation. We'll forgive you. But moving on, and feel free to shout out about hats if you like, but also please do share what are your recent highlights and what games have been playing. Would you care to go first? Recent highlights, listening to music and seeing the sights. Recent highlights. What are your recent highlights?
Highlights.
Ooh. Very puntastic.
My recent highlights are that I'm working on a board game with a wonderful person named Bess. And obviously many things, I think it's redundant just to say it, but many things have gotten in the way of the progress, but we're getting there. We'll soon have a virtual version so we can play test it further. So that's nice. I also have an exhibition on the windows of a gallery. So I made this giant sticker basically, and we just put it on the windows as some sort of mural. And it's still there. It's going to be up until September, I believe. So that's good because it was supposed to be taken off this week, and we decided to leave it. So it's good doing a lot of work, doing a lot of art, mainly. I am trying to design a new bouncy castle because I do that too.
And, these bouncy castles are something super awesome and definitely want to get stuck into that and, see what all that's about. Oops, I'm just going to... Oops. Woo, mirror effect. Forthcoming highlights include going on a holiday with partner and kids for a wee bit. And apparently Alan Outson, Graham would say that assumptions make an ass out of you and me if you're going to assume that you're counting for such things. I would like to find this correct screen to share my recent highlights if I can. Sorry about this, everyone. I really would have... You know what? I'll just say that there are some photos on my Twitter. I was hoping to work out how to share them. I'm currently struggling to find the name of the window, but I had a fox looking at me, I had a cat that was walking past, and I did have another bubble tea, and all of that was super awesome. And so hooray for all of that. Now let's move on to games. What have we been playing? What are their names? Games. Have you been playing any games recently?
Well, yes, I play a lot of games constantly. Not recently, in the past week, because my partner left for a little bit for a vacation, and so I don't have anyone to play with.
Aww.
Other than probably like mobile games and stuff like that, computer games. But I haven't played that much. I guess the last game I played was Azul. Yeah, I think it was Azul. You know,
that's a solid classic, yeah.
A very solid classic. Now, My favorite is Reef. I don't know if you have ever played a Reef of that type of game.
Oh, is that the one where you've got to make particular shapes and there's, I think, red, yellow, and a couple of other colors of pieces?
Yeah, you build your reef, and it's yeah, you have to kind of foresee what's going to happen in the future in a way, so you can start um, almost like a real estate, like investing in your reefs and put them in the board. But it's I believe it's a similar game than Azul. Is the mechanics, the theme, everything is very different, but in essence, like the I guess the type of game is similar. And Reef is definitely one of my favorite games currently.
And yeah, just to now I finally managed to flag up my window.
Also, I got Terraforming Mars.
Oh wow, we've got a lots of Terraforming Mars love on this show. Never
Yeah.
from me, but
I have never played it, Bess, and some friends came and they bought 2 copies a long time ago. I think it was a mistake of some sort, and they wanted to sell this other copy. And they came to London. Supposedly they had someone that they were going to sell it to, but they bailed. Coronavirus, life. So at the end, they decided to exchange the board game for some books that I have. So I did, and now I got Terraforming Mars. I haven't played it. I know there's a solo version that I've been intending to play, but it's such a commitment to do this on my own without knowing the rules.
Yeah, for
No one
sure.
was explaining to me, so yeah, I haven't done it. But Reef is a fantastic game. It's a very simple, easy game. Well, it's not that easy, I guess. But
I mean, what I found was that with Reef, I felt like I found it like there was a bit too much variance and randomness in the cards that come up for the patterns that you're looking for personally.
yeah,
That was my personal kind of feeling about it. But it is a very lovely and picturesque game.
I don't have fish.
I think the fish might be an expansion. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I get what you mean. You can invest on a game, and if the cards never come up, they never come up. So it becomes a bit. Yeah, there's I guess there is a luck aspect of it, like chance. There is.
So we've got lots of Terraforming Mars love from Xate, who says you got a brilliant deal.
It was a brilliant deal. I was like, I have it over there.
So, Xate has been also playing a game with playtesting another L idea with Aquasulis yesterday, which I'm super excited about. And I've never had to address this question. Just to jump ahead, like the L deck design competition, years ago I said 3 entries per person, and the idea there was to just limit it. I don't want someone just to be spamming lots of half-baked ideas and to give me lots to think about. I will say that if you've got a 2-person team, then that entry can count as an entry for either of you or half an entry for both of you. So basically, if Aquasulis has that, basically, as long as you're not messing me about, let's say 3 people work together to make games. In theory, if those 3 people made 9 games, would I be okay with that? I mean, ultimately, I want these games to be things that people have put work into. Do you get what I mean? But you get what I mean by that restrictions is. Do you have any opinions on this? Because I've got a rule saying it's 3 entries per person, and fundamentally, if one person suddenly says, "Oh, this is genuinely a co-designer," but they're not really, then that would be shenanigans, and that would clearly not be cool. But if 2 people are working together and to making cool games, then I would say, yeah, sure, those 2 people together could make 6 games between them. I think, or if 4 people are working as a foursome and are submitting 12 games, does that seem reasonable to you? It seems reasonable. What do you think, Tiz?
I guess it depends on how many submissions are you gonna, or do you expect to have. It's more up to you that you're gonna check them, that to limiting people to get entries. And as you said, yeah, many of them might not be well designed. If you say, oh, you can enter as many as you want, and you're right on that.
Yeah.
I guess the problem is yeah, it's such a dodgy thing to put some rules somewhere and then not really, or what are the limits of those rules. But I wouldn't say, I think it's more up to you than anything else, and depends on the amount of submissions that you usually get. That maybe,
I mean, certainly for this year, you know, if 4 people working together wanted to submit 12 entries, I would be okay with that. I'm just going to say it there. I will, if I can't work out how to play the game from your rules, the only feedback you'll get is that I can't work out how to play the game from your rules. But assuming that I can work out how to play the game, then I will ponder it and I'll spend a bit of time thinking about it, and I will get back to you, you know, in the forthcoming months. And
fair enough.
Yeah, that's basically what it's about. And I would say that ultimately, remember it, the more developed your game is, the higher the chances it has of actually winning. But I do want to make it very accessible. So if you have a great idea for a 10-person game, but it can only work literally in person, so maybe for obvious reasons you just can't playtest it right now, I would encourage those people to actually at least submit it. It might not even get into the top 10, but I will then give you feedback, probably privately at that stage, and then kind of it'll hopefully give you a bit of a help along for next year, because that's what it's all about. It's about encouraging people to make great games. Now, as always, if you are watching, thank you very much. If you're lurking, that's totally fine. If you'd like to join in the conversation, there's a bit more idle chit-chat going on Twitch, and follow the link to that. Or if you're on Facebook, I'll kind of flash up the highlights of the Twitch chat on the thing. Sorry, Tiz, we're getting lots of feedback. Can you put on your headphones? I'm really sorry.
No, sorry, that was my bad. I just turned off I was looking at the link, so I was sharing the link, and
okay.
Never mind. It's all good. It's all good.
So ask any questions you like. We will try to answer all the questions that you have at some point during the show. And feel free to like and follow. Now, we move on. And awesome. Glad to hear it, Xate. But without further ado, I would like to move on to my favorite section. Are you ready?
Definitely.
Great, because this is the start of the questionably quick questions. Almost got it wrong there. So, did you have breakfast?
No.
Where do you currently live?
In Deptford, London.
Where were you born?
Mexico City.
When did you wake up today?
I woke up at 8:30.
What's the last thing you ate?
Yesterday, couscous.
Anything mixed into the couscous?
Yes, I was eating it with some falafel balls and hummus and
How many people do you live with?
One person.
Okay, iced coffee or hot tea?
Iced coffee.
What's a good thing to eat or drink whilst playing games?
I like cider, so I would go for cider. But I can also go for coffee, definitely, or tea.
Who's the last person you played a game with in person?
Maria.
Books or podcasts?
I'm gonna go for podcast, but it's not that I find very difficult to read. So I usually go for podcasts before reading, but I love books.
Do you feel
When
more
I have,
confidence in Spanish?
yeah.
What is a Spanish word that you don't know the English to?
There is this ongoing kind of conversation, and it's te quiero, which is like I love you, but it's not I love you, because I love you is te amo. So te quiero, it's a little bit less intense, but it's
So,
difficult to
but is it more intense than I like you?
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Because I like you has their own translation as well, and I love you has their own translation, and te quiero states mainly in the middle between those
Oh,
two.
wow. So
And
there's more gradations of like and love in Spanish.
yeah, and you usually use te quiero a lot for family members, friends, and stuff like that.
Oh,
When you don't want to say I love you, but you can say I love you. It's just a word that is specifically more about. I mean, it's not exclusively, but it's more about like friendships and family than romantic. Although it can, of course, be romantic if you put the tone into it.
What's the last podcast you listened to?
There is one that I love that is called Philosophize This. It's about philosophy, and they explain philosophical theories of all sorts and of all kinds. And I also have one that is for sleeping. I tried it once and I fell asleep, but it's like night stories, like, and it's a soothing sound. I tried it once, but I got lost in the story. Ich liebe dich.
No, it's not Ich liebe dich, it's Ich habe dich lieb.
Ich habe dich lieb.
Because
So it's like,
Xate is living in Leipzig. Ich liebe dich is I love you.
That is the only word. I know two words. One is not a nice word, and ich liebe dich.
What is your favorite color to play?
Usually green.
Cards or cubes?
Cards or cubes?
Yes.
Probably cards.
Wooden meeple or plastic figurine?
Wooden.
How do you like to stack your games, vertically or horizontally?
Vertically, I think.
Art or rules?
Can you say that again?
Art or rules? Actually, you know what? Are rules art?
They can be, yeah, definitely. But I would go for art in the original question.
Name 3 games you love.
Reef, definitely. Right now, Concept that I've been playing a lot, and Yogi.
Oh, thank you. And now it's a special section of questionably quick arts questions.
Okay.
Is this art?
If you want it to be, yes.
Is my face art?
Definitely.
Oh. Is your hat art?
With reasonable doubt.
And is this art?
I see the potential. Definitely.
So, yeah, we've got to shout out to the In a Bind contest. And so, yes, please, everyone, enter the In a Bind contest, which I will share the link to in a minute.
I'll be there too.
Tiz, that concludes our questionably quick questions. And for everyone in the comments, was that quick? Let us know. And now is your opportunity to ask any questions of Tiz. And please ask in the chat. Now, Alan Outson says your score was 7, 5 minutes and 32 seconds, 6 points, with 1 incorrect answer. No, Alan, cider is not an incorrect answer.
What would be the correct answer, though? What do you guys drink when you play board games?
I mean, I drink personally water. I'm a big fan of just drinking water for dehydration. Alan Outson's just anything except cider, apparently. So,
Fair
Tiz,
enough. Fair enough.
you have already told us a little bit about yourself. You're an artist from Mexico City, you're based in London, you graduated a master's degree, you've been doing a lot of stuff which I will share from your Instagram. And can you just chat about, in as much or as little as you would like to share, about who you are and what is art and why you make things?
Sure. Why do I make things? I don't know. I guess it's an impulse of some sort. I have tried to have, or I do sometimes, normal jobs and things like that, and it's never satisfying. When I moved to London and I did the master's degree in fine arts, I realized after, because I had some disclosures to the course itself, but I realized that this is what I love and this is what I want to do with my life. Like, no questions asked. And part of that is also because I see the versatility of art itself. As you said, like, you can put a pencil and say it's art. Of course, it doesn't mean that I necessarily support that doing, or necessarily support and back up that anything can be art. But I do also hop upon that and saying anything can be art, and then I can do basically anything I want, in a way. So as an artist, it opens my possibilities to the infinite. But I guess as it goes to the reputation of what art is and contemporary art is, then it's obviously damaging, because there's a lot of people who might be doing things to take a piss, but people don't necessarily get that. So it becomes a really big thing. Like, there's this very popular work that was a banana on a wall with some sort of tape, and it caused so much controversy that you seem like that's what the artist wants. It's just people talking about their work and speculating and being like that. So it's a little bit dodgy on what art is or what is not, if you can just
For
call it like
sure.
that. But I do take
Abs-
my benefit on it, and I do try to create as much as I can in different pathways, and that's what brought me to games in the first place.
you kind of, we were together on the Mind Games podcast, which I really enjoyed, and I listened to both of them. Did you listen to them?
No,
Okay. But it was
I'm
really,
like a self-conscious of listening to myself.
do you just not want to listen to yourself ever? Is that what it comes down to?
Well, not necessarily. Like, if someone tells me like, "Oh, you need to listen to this," or you need to, like, if I would need to review some of the stuff that I said or something, I wouldn't have a problem. It's just something that I usually don't do. I don't know. It feels weird to me, and I feel self-conscious about it. But if I have to, I will do it, and it's okay. But I just didn't.
Anyway, so you said something really interesting about, you made a quote about why play is art. I don't know if you can remember what you said, that you said it was so practiced because you've got to justify things.
Yeah.
If you could give that 30-second spiel.
Of in terms of play, or in terms of how you justify?
Yeah, justifying the fact that a bouncy castle is art.
Well, if you want to be very sarcastic about it, I guess you can you can say that anything that you do with the intent of being art is art. That's why when you were asking me, is that art? Is that art? It has the potential, but it is not, because it was not made with the intention of being a piece of art. Whereas if I go and put the pencil on the floor and I'm like, this is my work, this is my artwork, then it is technically art because it's the intention of it. And that is, to me, obviously not the most
interesting art piece?
No, yeah, I mean, because it gives a lot of window to just do things without really thinking about them, and I think there is a responsibility as an artist, or at least I assume my responsibility as an artist, to try to do things that challenge people and that offer something unique. And sometimes I don't know what is behind of putting a pencil on the floor. If you have a very thick conceptual explanation on why that is important, maybe it becomes more valid. But as it is, really, most people won't understand it. And then you can also include in this conversation that part of the elitism of the art world and how all of that works, on saying, yes, it's too elevated, my work is too elevated that you cannot understand it. And I feel like that is not really necessarily the way to approach art. In fact, the way that I do art, that has to do with the interactions and play and all the things that I incorporate, is because I want to make art accessible, and I want to make art, if it's not understood by everyone, but at least that you're able to build a relationship with the art, with anyone. So that is the core of why my work is interactive and is playful, and I take a lot of game mechanics, and I consider that the game that we're doing sees the power. In a way, it has its art qualities, and I do it with the intention of for the game to be in a way artistic, uh, not necessarily through the art, but through the way that it's constructed and thought through. And I think that in that specific case, that game is more than just a game. It has a lot of things behind it, and it could bring a lot of conversations to place. So there is something, to me, artistic within that project, and I think that that could just permeate in everything I do. Even if I'm cooking, I try to, if I'm not just cooking a sandwich just to eat, like if I'm cooking, I try to enjoy the process, and I try to say, okay, maybe a little bit of this spice, and go off of the recipe, and try to do things unique, in a unique and interesting way in everything that I do. At least I try. It doesn't mean obviously that I succeed or that I do it every single time, but I try to do that.
I mean, what you said about cooking, it does. And by the way, hi Alex, it's lovely to see you there. And yeah, it's kind of makes me think of the fact that, to me, art, I hate the word should, but I think it's more meaningful if it elicits a reaction.
Yeah.
Not just controversy, but if I see that and it makes me smile and it's like, oh, that's pretty, and it just elicits something in me, even though maybe that might seem like a dismissive thing, there's kind of, it sparks some memory. It kind of looks vaguely like, whether it's the shape of this piece, which looks a little bit like clouds, or the bottom, which is kind of like a still just the strokes and the shading that you've incorporated. And just sometimes it's like the expression of the strokes. And sometimes when it's cooking, like the spices that you use, it's like, okay, let's make sure that we're ramping up, let's play with things in an interesting way, that it's actually going to cause the viewer or the person experiencing it to reflect on it. And if I get, a bubble tea, for example, with a bubble tea that is lovely, that's beautiful, and with, in a way, art is kind of communication in a way, with, even if it's not communication of a clear idea, or communication of saying, hey, you should do this, or communication of a clear message, sometimes it's just communication of, hey, here's something to relax you for a moment or agitate you. And we can go into that of, well, if we've not managed to communicate anything, yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah, I do agree in a way. I try to think as art as something that it cannot be expressed any other way. So obviously words and text. So when you do an artwork, at least the way that I see it, in a way, I'm trying to say something that I cannot say with words, or written words, or spoken words, or in any other way. So that's why it becomes a work of art, because it's touching upon something that it's a little bit beyond our understanding in a way. But I also feel like everybody sees what they want to see, and there's some works that are very effective with certain people, or some works that are not very effective, and it all, it boils down to what you see of your life or yourself within that work. So when you're in a museum and you're attracted to a certain painting, for example, it's not that that painting has a special power, is that you are seeing something of yourself reflected on that, whether that's the context that you understand, where the painting was made, and you understand in which conditions that was made, or the artist, or is something about your life that the picture, the narrative that the painting is reflecting, it makes sense within your life, or it can be related to your life in a way. So it's a little bit difficult to say as an artist, I'm going to do a work that appeals to absolutely everyone, because you never really know how people are going to react, and what are their life experiences in which they're going to see themselves reflected in your work in a way. And then there's a whole wave of people against being too didactic, of saying my work is about this and this and that. And there's another wave of people of saying that they want to explain you, and those are the conceptual artists that they say, okay, I put a pencil on the floor, but I can write you a book, an entire book of why that was, and why is that important. And some people just make a painting that is absolutely beautiful, but it's untitled, it has nothing really, no conceptual frame to cling upon. And in those terms, both of the possibilities are valid. It's just about what type of artist do you want to be. But in my case, I don't want to explain anything, because to me accessibility is important. But it is
But don't you think that seems like a kind of contradiction? If accessibility is important, then isn't explanation making something more accessible?
In a way, yes, and in a way, no, because depends on where the explanation is hosting itself. So sometimes, for example, artists talk about quantum physics, and concepts like that, and if you don't know about them, even if they put you the text in front of you, you cannot understand it. Like sometimes I've been to exhibitions and I have read the curatorial text on the walls or on a piece of paper, and I'm like, what is this? I don't get it. I don't understand. And sometimes that text really helps to put you and set you up into the context, and understand or have more appreciation to what you're looking at. So it's a little bit of a sword of two sharps. I don't know how to say that. That's a Mexican.
Yeah, double-edged sword.
Double-edged sword, yeah. Two sharps. So it's a double-edged sword in that way. I guess my point of view has more to do with, I want you to make the interpretation. So when someone asks me, what does this mean, or what is this in terms of my work, and I tell them, what do you think it is, instead of telling them what I thought. And sometimes their explanation is better than mine.
But then doesn't that run the risk of being in a bad faith, by a bad faith person, if you know what I mean? Especially when it's something, let's talk about Seize the Power. Obviously, that's how I know you best, because we met at the Smoke. We both have a mutual interest in LARP, and then we met at BG DevCon, which I ran. And then, while later, I invited you to join me for Seize the Power. It occurs, that's how we met. It occurs to me that I never really asked you to introduce yourself. I don't know if people already feel like that's been achieved, but is there anything else that you think you need to say at this point by way of introduction?
Not necessarily that. I hope you're enjoying the images.
Yeah.
But
And
no, about myself, I mean, I have a lot of things that I could say about myself, but I think, yeah, it's uncalled for to just like start talking about my life and all those kind of things.
well, what's our 5 things you love that are not board games? Actually,
Uh,
screw. Forget that. Just what's our 5 things? What's our 5 things you love?
I'm okay. Just as a disclaimer, I'm just gonna speak about what occurs to me right now because obviously things change and life change. But what is essential for me?
Okay.
In a way, well, right now I have a lot of plants because I'm babysitting plants for my friends, so I have a lot of them plus mine, of course, and I really love it. So I think having some sort of life form around you is always important to me. Also, this thing, my tablet, is an essential for me that I love, absolutely
Mm,
love, because I draw, I take notes, I can make 3D designs, I can make a lot of things with
good
it,
shout.
and, and read books and stuff like that, or audiobooks or podcasts. Um, I take it everywhere. Sometimes I just go to a party or something and I take it in my bag just in case. And sometimes if I get like a little bit anxious or whatnot, I just sit on a couch and start drawing, and then people get attracted, and then I share it around so people start doing their drawings. And I have now a collection of I think 30 different drawings of people who at some point made a drawing in my iPad. So that's nice.
Aw. So plants, your pad.
Hmm.
It doesn't need to be your favorite things. Just something that you could say you care or it. You don't have to love it.
Okay, I have my hard drive here as well.
Okay. Lots of information, I guess, and memories.
Very, very important. Super important. It's like the archive of my life. Not this one particularly, but this is the archive from the last year, I guess. And it's super, super important for me. The data. I'm a hoarder by heart, by nature. And the way that I managed to deal with my hoarding issues, if you must, is that I started taking pictures of the stuff that I let go. So clothes and stuff like that. When I had to give them away, I took pictures of them.
Oh, nice. So you have the memories, but you give away the physical things. That's a really interesting way to do it.
Yeah, it's like a psychologically okay, but not only because of that. I also take a lot of pictures, a lot, all the time, and then the files that I use are very heavy. The files for even for designing, for example, a game or I don't know, some sort of video game or 3D design or whatever I'm doing at that time. So yeah, I mean, my hard drives are the top of the list of the most essential things that I need in my life. Like I go back to them all the time, and if I lose them, I lose part of myself in a way. That sounds dramatic, but it's true.
No, we've got so lots of respect for that and comments from Slate.
What else can I? Well, I mean, board games or games in general are definitely something that is essential in my life, mainly to try to understand different worlds, if that makes any sense. But it's just different logics, and I try to compare them to our actual systems and rules in the real world, and how do we work out. So in a utopical, a utopian alternative, I would try to attempt to design a better system in a way, and within that fictional frame, board games and games and game mechanics in general could be a key aspect for me to study, or is a key aspect, and that's in a great part of why I got into it in the first place, to try to deconfigure the current systems and then configure a new system that, to my utopian point of view, functions better. This is all purely fictional and it has no basis on reality, but in a way, that idealism got me to think of why it's so important to try to understand different systems and be able to adapt to different systems if that comes to place, like now, that our entire life changed, and some people just can't adapt. I go to the high street and no one's using masks, or people are just too close together, and it's a way of saying it's difficult to change, it's difficult to adapt, and it's difficult to change the rules. It is possible, but it's also a human factor there. So there's a lot of things to unpack within this argument. Nothing really contextual because it's all fiction in a way, but games are truly important to me. And to wrap things up, the most, I guess, well, not the most, but the umbrella of my life is art in a way.
Yeah.
What that means to me.
I mean, again, arts is such a big thing, and I'm aware that we've been basically having a long semantic argument, and I'm not sure how interesting semantic discussions are. But is it worthwhile, or is there any benefit in dividing art from entertainment? Because you could say that to some degree, art is woolly. You don't know, is this art? Is it not? Whereas entertainment, it's clear you're trying to do something with a purpose. I mean, it could be compared to the product design of the pencil, that there's a lot of great work in this pencil. The legibility of the fact that it says HB, the hexagonal shape, yep, it's hexagonal, allows me to grip onto it easily. I don't know what the utility of the white or black is at the end, but I guess, it's offer.
Is a brand trademark, probably.
Yeah, I guess that's probably it. Like, just to say, hey, this is from the same people, and so we're showing you exactly what pencil it is, and it stays there as you sharpen it until it gets down to the very end. And there's probably products assigning the exact thickness of the lead and the exact thickness of the wood and everything. Now, there's a clear objective and utility with product design, just as there is with entertainment. With entertainment, it's clear, have you entertained someone? But even that notion of entertainment, you then need to ask yourself about, sorry, I'm just thinking out loud, who is your target audience? What is entertainment in this way? Because the entertainment that you get from Yogi is completely different from the entertainment you get from Seize the Power. One game is about laughing at yourself and other people as you're silly and being a little bit frivolous. Another game is about making fairly tactical political decisions and negotiating and feeling a little snippet of what it might be like to have someone who has a lot of privilege or not much privilege, kind of, yeah, harking back to LARP in some way. But, and so even within that, entertainment is there any use in the distinction between the two? I guess I don't know.
I guess it depends who's asking, really. Because many people would see them as the same thing, and many people would be offended by that comparison. I guess the best way to think about this is through films. So we have films that are clearly made with a purpose of entertaining, and we can call many superhero action movies in that sector, for example. And then there's these art films that we have, they probably go to festivals and things like that and win prestige prizes on that specific genre. So we have these two divisions, but there's certain films that cross over and that are both are entertainment and they're unique pieces of art. Many would say, and many would also be offended by this, but some people say Tarantino, for example, breaches both of of those genres. Just to keep it simple, films like, for example, Little Miss Sunshine, that was very acclaimed within the film industry, but also it had so much simpleness in that way that it was very entertaining for many people, and it was much more successful than what anyone would expect it, because it was targeted as an indie film, as an art film, and then it had this really accessible narrative, and it was very entertaining for many people. So it became almost like a blockbuster film, but it was not intended to be like that. And then you can unpack or pack films in those different categories, whether if they're closer to entertainment, closer to like an artistic film, or in a way they're the middle and they're touching on both, or within that frame, where do you put films? And it's the same thing with any other creative practice. The difference is that art is never supposed to be entertainment. Art is always supposed to be art, right? But that has been proven not to be true in many ways, because if you think about one of the most successful artists in history is Andy Warhol, and Andy Warhol really wasn't any he worked
Well, very much commodified it.
Exactly, and it turned art into entertainment in a way, and that was his practice. And in a way, he was taking a piss at the same time, but nobody understood the joke. And then he saw success on that, and he started becoming a very successful artist. So then why not continue doing the things that you're doing already? But in a way, if you take that into an extreme, you say Duchamp, who did the toilet work, he was also just trying to mock people off and try to make fun of them. And it was a joke in a way, in a satire of what the art world is, and how exclusive it could be and all that. And then people took it as this marvelous piece of art, and then it gave birth to contemporary art in many ways. And then you tell me if this pencil is art or not. I mean, at this stage, I cannot tell you that. You know, maybe before Dadaism and Duchamp, maybe I could tell you if it's art or not. But now it's very difficult to make the call, and I don't feel like I have enough, let's say, knowledge to make a call, and I wouldn't make a call even if I would have the knowledge to do so, because who am I to say what is art and what is not?
I mean, I've enjoyed this chat. I don't know if it's interesting to other people. Let us know what you're thinking of it. And just to go into one question that I've missed, Alan Outson asks about storing art, because you say that you're a hoarder, but yet lots of the art you create, and some of it you actually destroy, because it's destroyed as part of the process of exhibition. Sometimes the performance, it is transient. But with those things that have something that continues, how do you store it?
I have, fortunately, in my building, there's a storage room. I have to pay for it, but it's a very convenient price compared to many other storage services. But yeah, I have to store it there. I don't have a studio currently, but if I would have a studio, I probably would store some of the stuff in the studio. But it is always complicated. I have a recent story of a work that I sacrificed a long time ago when I was graduating from the MFA, just because I couldn't take it. I have to make a decision of what things I can take and what things I can't take. So I just left the work expecting that the people who are coming next and using the studios next will throw them away, because that's usually what they do. For some reason, this work ended up not seen by anyone or something like that. I don't know why, because it had my name and everybody knew that I was already gone. It survived, and I went to pick it up last week, after more than a year of being completely
Wow.
lost by me. And then I thought, you know what, I never saw it, because I went many times to the studios to check up on what they have thrown away of works, to see if there's anything that I'm forgetting that is mine. And I never saw the work, so I thought it might still be alive. And in the first chance that I got to go to the studios, it was there. It was there, underneath a pile of shit. So I had to kind of like do a lot of physical work to get it back. But I have it now, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, storage is always a problem. So the bottom line of all of this is that as an artist, many of the things I have to throw them away, straight up like that, or give them away. Right now I'm exploring a lot of digital art, and in a way it has to do with not having to require that physical storage. But I also do a lot of paintings, but paintings are an easy thing to store.
Can you, yeah, like there's so many questions. I'm sure we could ramble for like 3 hours or 4 hours. And maybe like if you're up for it next weekend when I'm having the yeah, I would love to have you on at some point during the Birthday Spectacular, and maybe later on in the evening on Saturday or Sunday, we could start a discussion of whether In a Bind is art, and about the line between entertainment and art, because I feel like if we let ourselves, that could carry on for, yeah, days and days.
Yeah.
Moving on a little bit, because, yeah, we're getting to the end of the hour when ostensibly I try to finish. So, Bouncy Castle. Not this one. Yeah, Bouncy Castle. How did you make it? Why did you make it? And we've seen in some of the previous pictures that you've started incorporating rules and stuff into your work. Can you just talk about the origin of that?
Sure. I wanted to make an installation that is fully immersive. And in terms of, there's a lot of things that related to storage in this decision making. Of course, it was not everything, but now that we were talking about it before, I must say that I was very worried at that point, because I wanted to do an immersive installation, but if I knew that I constructed that installation inside a space, a Y cube for lack of better ideas, then everything that I built, I would probably have to throw to the trash, or most of it. And basically, if I build something inside a space, it's built for that space. So there's no purpose. I can repurpose it, but it has to be immediately, because I don't know, but if I use scaffolding or wooden structures, I would have to figure out a way to store all those kind of things. So there is a process of thought that was thinking about storage when I decided finally to make a bouncy castle.
Yeah, that's inflation. I mean, how big is it when you shrink it and when you wrap it up tight, out of curiosity?
It's like 1.20 meters tall, and probably like 80 centimeters wide, like radius.
Okay, so it's like a cylinder.
It is like a cylinder folded
That's
down.
actually not too bad.
No, it's not bad at all, actually. The problem is it's super heavy. It's about like 130 kilograms.
130 kilograms?
Yeah.
How did you pack it? Like, can you talk a little bit, just because I'm curious about this bouncy castle? So just going back to the video, this is the one. Yeah, do you need an industrial thing to bring it down? How did you create this thing? Can you talk a little bit about that process very quickly?
I was a bit naive when I started this whole project because it was certainly a challenge, and I wasn't foreseeing what it was up to come for making this choice. That being said, I mean, I'm a person who has always I never look back at things, and I just go for it, even if I fail. And that is a great part of my culture as well, and how we manage. Like I just do things and see how it goes. But yeah, I was very naive on not seeing the challenge coming to me. There is so many complications of having a bouncy castle and running running it, making it happen in a way, inflated, put air on it.
Yeah.
But there's so many things that are very simple. So, for example, packing it up and putting it up and down is very, very simple. How things started, basically, I there was a lot of things that I was thinking about. Storage was one, because I didn't know if I was going back to Mexico, how am I going to take my stuff? So I was a bit worried about that. But I also wanted to create this space that is fully immersive. And I was trying to think about how I was going to accomplish that and the elements that I want. That some of the elements ended up being part of the bouncy castle, and some of the elements that you see were on my train of thought before it was a bouncy castle itself, because I didn't want to make a space that you could say, okay, this is clearly a castle. This is clearly this thing, you know. So I wanted to be in a way deceiving. And all of the things that I incorporated on the bouncy castle are things that you might be able to recognize, but at the same time, you're not sure what they are. It has some stairs, for example, but once you try to go up the stairs, you immediately fall down, because those stairs are not meant to be stairs, but you don't know that. So you think in your reality that those are stairs because they look like stairs and they have the shape of stairs, but you try to go on top of it and then you fall down.
Because it just collapses because of the air moving around inside.
Yeah, but if I wanted people to be able to step on the stairs, I could have if I just made them thicker. But I decided not to do it because I wanted you for that to be the first thing you try, to go on top of it, and then the first thing you fail upon, and that is a way to enter into this new reality. The name of the work is Space for Autonomous Imagination, in a way. So you enter to this space, and then everything is not what you think it is, and it is more or less what you think or what you want it to be. So I had a workshop on with the bouncy castle, and I made people speculate on what it is. Some people say it was like a cake. Some people say it was like a cell. Or a microscopic being of some sort. Some people obviously said that it was a castle. And it's just this interesting thing that it looks like something, but not really. And the deceiving part is what I wanted to create in this installation. Then it happened that it became a bouncy castle. For the reasons that I just told you, and also for the reasons of, I like the fact that when you step, it's not firm, it's not the ground, it's air. So you lose balance, you lose...
Yeah, I feel like that, for me, that would actually be quite a fun when if I slipped down, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to, grab really hard hold of these things and really pull and really struggle and try to make my way up. I'm not going to give up. And that would be an interesting experience for sure.
And many people did, and so many people did manage to get up. It was possible. It was just not as easy as you thought it was going to be.
Well, I mean, now that you've shared the secrets, we don't have that moment of joy of surprise.
Only for your audience.
Well, I mean, don't disregard my audience. So, yeah, it was actually, so that's the second time that we met. Yay. And these pictures were really interesting, and I think it was these pictures that I might have seen on your Facebook, and it made me So I think that we should, before we finish up, talk about Seize the Power at least for 5 minutes.
Sure.
So after doing that, I don't know if was this the first ever playtest?
I don't know if he's the first ever, but he's definitely one of the top 3 playtests that we had.
Because I mean, this was certainly could have been the first playtest because Kieran and Ellie, I think, were both in the first, and I don't know whose hands these are. It might be no. That's
it might
not.
be the first one, yeah, because we are also on the Queen Mary.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, this is the venue at just beside Royal Festival Hall. Some of the weeks, Royal Festival Hall might be used for graduation, especially in the middle of July, September 1st. That's when some people are graduating from universities, and they book out the top floor of Royal Festival Hall for that. And from my perspective, it was like, hey, I've got this idea for having these rules that one person kind of decides these are the rules, but the other people can pay money for the other person to apply the rules or not apply the rules. So sometimes the rules are good, sometimes the rules are bad. And it was just a game about negotiation. And then I think it was seeing maybe, I don't know if it was seeing these, but looking at it, I could honestly believe, I can't remember exactly what the inspiration was, to think, hey, wait a minute, me, and seeing this combined with the festival design brief, it was, wait a minute, they're looking for something that's a bit more interesting. Maybe we could talk about discrimination and subjugation of power and bigotry, because that's elements of someone being in power and being able to say, okay, these are the rules, and do you enforce this rule, or education costs too money less, but maybe you only enforce that rule if the other person can pay you one money at least. And later on, the rules became much more unfair. There's no education costs too money less anymore. It's only education costs less if you've got enough eyes or enough arms. And we really leaned into that. And it was so good kind of chatting with you, having hours of conversation, and then that, yeah, talk to us. I don't want to be the only one talking because I'm here every day. Chat about that first time when we got together to prototype it together and then we play tested it.
Of course. I actually think it was very fascinating because we were on a deadline that it was uncalled for, because we found out about Festival a few days before the closing. Yeah, the end of the open call.
Yeah, we had to submit it literally that night, and exactly. We started drawing things that morning.
Exactly, and we had managed to have a play test and everything. I think what it was surprising for me, it was the way that we worked together to pull this off in that time frame, which I'm still very impressed from ourselves. But that also spoke about both of us being on the same channel. I think that my background and your background, in a way, it's able to complement or we complement each other very well. So obviously you know more about game mechanics, and you have played more board games than myself. And then I have a other type of insights that had to do maybe with a little bit of art, but also art not as in the art of the drawings, but art as how is this conceptually, and what does it mean behind the surface, and trying to make sure that we're talking about a difficult subject, and we're making players make difficult decisions, but at the same time we are not offending anyone, and we're actually talking about something serious and something that it's important and that have affected our lives, both of us, you, Bess, and myself.
I mean, looking at this, I see a card that says war. A conflict just started. All I don't. I don't remember what that symbol was meant to mean, but all something is suspended for 1 round. And then
Yeah.
another one says everyone pays 2 money to the bank this round. Crisis. Tsunami. Everyone loses their money this round, and everyone loses their energy this round. And we had these sorts of events cards, and we wrote them up, and we literally never playtested with them, because just to say there is value in playtesting in your mind. And so I would never normally do this with a playtest group, but I had been a regular for multiple years, and I said, hey everyone, I know this is very unorthodox, but we will just be doing our own thing and making this game, and we want to playtest at 3 p.m. So from 10 until 3, we will be basically making it ourselves, but we will have a slot that will be amazing, and please, I will make it up to you in future weeks, not to mention the previous weeks when I'd kind of made it up already. But playtesting in your mind, thinking about it, do these things work? Are they simple enough? And I think that what I brought maybe was restraint, and what you brought maybe is a wild imagination, which is amazing. And so, and
Yeah, that's what it really helped me to have you to simplify things, or to put an end and make a choice. At that time I was like, no, we don't have time, we need to make this choice. And I think it's very useful for me to, when I'm working with a team, to have that, because sometimes I can leave my mind wild, and it would never really stop until it has to. In this particular time, we were also running against the clock, so we needed to make bold choices. We needed, as you said, like, this was the unorthodox exception to the playtesting group, and they let us do this. But we would have never asked for that if we weren't running against the clock and suddenly realized that the deadline was that same night. But I also feel like that was part of the beauty of it, because we had to do it. We compromised with them. We took a slot for a playtest that of a game that we didn't have at that time. So it was fascinating that it actually turned out to be all right, and it actually turned out that now we're gonna run a Kickstarter for it, and with Inside the Box games, and to me it's fascinating to see all this journey in a way with almost like an accident.
Yeah, I mean, it is very purposeful, but everything that we do is absolutely because of so much chaotic thought. I mean, like the butterfly effect, the notion that if a butterfly flaps its wings, yada yada. And certainly if if you had not posted something, or if Festival hadn't posted their thing, and certainly going back further, if Ben Neumann hadn't been there to say, yes, I can do things, I can make in a bind, I would never have really been a game designer, and I probably would have had to work a lot less. And if you hadn't been able to get, whilst there's, in many ways, there's some privileges that you don't have, there are many privileges that you do have, having the finances and resources to come over to London to attend Goldsmiths for your masters. And there are so many opportunities that we have around us, and every single thing that has brought us to this amazing place where, yes, Xate, I am able to have bubble tea. Going back, it's hard for me to find old comments because it's scrolling up. Yeah, apparently I need a hashtag advert, but anyway, so there we go. Yeah, apparently Honestly, I've only had a bubble tea yesterday and today, but I am thinking, I do want to make a regular thing of it because it's a 13-mile journey to this bubble tea place that I quite like. And 13 miles is a reasonable amount for me to cycle right now because normally I wouldn't cycle more than 10 miles, but that's if I'm cycling 10 miles out and then 10 miles back. But in this day and age, maybe I'll cycle the 6.5 miles, maybe I'll grab my bubble tea, and I
What is
think
your
in this.
flavor?
So my flavor is salty matcha, but the one that I had yesterday, if I can flag it up, so this one, and I did not get paid any money by these people, and I have no affiliation with Mubu, but this is based in Camden. This photo was taken after I got the bubble tea, and I went very far away, and then I drank it, and this has tapioca and herbal jelly and egg jelly, and that's kind of all by default. So you get the tapioca and the herbal jelly by default, and then you get one additional thing. So it's basically 3 toppings rather than 2. And it's quite a simple salty latte. And there we can see the fox. I don't know if you see the fox that I encountered yesterday. And there we can see the fox yawning and stretching. And we're just saying this is a bad picture. But finally, the cat. This is my favorite picture of the kind of cat going, oh, hello. Oh, wait a minute. There's something over there. Yeah, I'm going to walk away from you now. And so, yeah, we are in a place where I am able to have bubble tea. I am able to afford it. And I know it's not the most expensive thing in the world, but the fact that
it is a privilege to have bubble tea,
it is. Like, I was in a position not too long ago where basically my weekly expenditure for every week was £10, like for food and everything else combined. And, I had enough money that, okay, if I'm able to save some money, and if my bike, gets a puncture, then I'm going to sort out my bike. I'm going to spend money on that because I need the bicycle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But basically, rent and heating, I managed to cover that. But for all my food, for all my going out, it was £10 a week. And then in that situation, if I want to be able to afford half a pint when I go off to Jugged Hare, that's a serious consideration. And so it means that I need to be, that's how I know that the cheapest form of healthy calories is peanuts. And that's still something that I'm very mindful of, that, you can have very cheap noodles. Sometimes you can have 5 packs of noodles for £1 if you go to the right places, but it's not so healthy, I would say. Those carbs and the fat compared to the fat of the peanuts, which, unless you're allergic to peanuts, in which case obviously that's not healthy at all. But no, I don't feel bad. I feel privileged, and it's not a case of saying, hey, you've got privilege, you should feel bad. That's not the point. And thank you very much. And yeah, that's the thing. That's it's like, okay, I cycled 13 miles and I get this bubble tea and I feel like a sense of achievement, and I enjoy the bubble tea and I try to take long and I try to really enjoy the taste. It's like, what's the point in this stuff if you don't enjoy it? That's the point. And so whatever stage we are at in life, I mean, that is why I ask people, what are some of your recent highlights? What are some of, games that we've been playing? And hopefully some of those games you've enjoyed, because we do all play games for pleasure. Yes, sometimes I'm just looking. All the time there are things that I don't like about games. I can't think of a single game, including my own, that I. Okay, so my self-published stuff is slightly different, but even my self-published stuff, there's things about this game right now. This game, there's things about this that I hate. About the packaging, I really don't like parts of it. About
What do you
just
don't like about it? The packaging.
we could have a 2-hour convert, but like okay,
Okay.
so where's Kawaii? So basically, next edition, it's going to have name or basically, if you store this vertically on your game shelf, you should know what it's like that way. If you store it this way, you should know what it's like and be able to read it that way. If you store it this way, you should have the name there. Then all the legal information, this barcode and that doesn't need to be there. That's ridiculous. It should be here. Now, all of this stuff, this is good, but people felt like it was too dark. Like people thought that it was a horror game, and I communicated it badly. It's a bright, it's a colorful, it's a fun game, and so I quite like the fact that there's a lot of cats. I do like that aspect of it, but I think I would have to completely redraw it. And I don't like the fact that it says you can be a dick. I didn't think in my mind that, yeah, there are maybe sometimes if you play with an 8-year-old, you don't want that word. And it would just say, you can get your claws out, or you can be catty, something like that. And it should have some pictures of cards. I've realized that having pictures of the cards, here you can see, oh, that's cute, that's what the... And if I opened it up and then you see, oh, wow, the cards actually look quite colorful, they're quite cute. But now in the packaging, I just don't like that. And then there's also 2 numbers that I would change about the cards inside. One of the 3s I would change to a 2. But yeah, Xate agrees the sides aren't great, and Xate has to store it on its top. So it's only... Do you mean you store it on its side? So like you store it like that way on its side, so it's only visible from the top? Or do you mean actually store it like that?
I started on the second way, but I do agree with that. I actually had that train of thought when I was arranging my board games, and I was like, oh no, this one doesn't have the name.
Yeah.
I did have that issue, and I thought, yeah, maybe that's something I should tell you, but it just leave my mind. I mean, I don't think it's that important, but in terms of, I did thought about it. I did thought about telling you that it needed a name on the side.
No, and I appreciate all sorts of feedback with whatever it's doing. This right now is an open invitation to give me feedback on literally anything I do, as long as there is some specificity to it. If you say, hey Bez, you cycle like a numpty, then, well, I'm going to ignore that unless you say, hey Bez, you cycle like a numpty because you did this thing. Like if you say, hey Bez, at this part, you shouldn't have done that. And have I ever had... So, yeah, the point is that everything can be improved. And so I think maybe this is kind of what ties into art, a constant desire to improve and a constant desire to reach people.
Yeah.
And I feel like we got away from the whole conversation, which was about game design and making Seize the Power and the privilege and the things that led us to this space, like all the chaos that led us to be making Seize the Power together. And we still don't know where it will lead, because we're just on the start of our relationship with Inside the Box. There's going to be a bit more time before things really start getting going. We'll have to see how it goes. But it has been a joy. I think it's about time. It really is time for us to wrap up, Tiz. But do you have any final words?
Yeah, I mean, I wish we talked more about Seize the Power, but I guess it's gonna come up in the future, as you said, we are only starting the journey just now. So we will have more chances to talk about it in the future, and hopefully to anyone who's watching, we can play test it, and your feedback would be really welcome.
Yeah, we're still waiting to have the Tabletopia build finished, but once that is done, then I will be sharing a message on all the social medias and asking people to help out. And yeah, so yeah, I do definitely want to chat more about it, but I didn't want to have you on and only chat about the thing we did together. I wanted to have you on and chat about, do you know what I mean, about yeah, you and things that you have done separately to me, like this amazing bouncy castle. I feel like we could spend an hour just talking about how do you make a bouncy castle, like all the physical construction that went into it.
Yeah, it is a piece of conversation, I'll tell you that, but it would have to be for another occasion. And yeah, we can make an exclusive Seize the Power chat.
Yeah, so maybe both the designers of Seize the Power can agree at this point to have an exclusive chat about Seize the Power when it starts playtesting.
Yeah,
I think that would be good timing.
Playtesting because I feel like the best way to show it is in a way playing it and how people react to it. One thing that I will say before we leave about Seize the Power is that the people who are playing will make the game significantly different, and it's the choices that you make as a player or as the character you're playing with. It depends on how you decide to take on the game. It really can change significantly the outcome and the way you play the game. I'll leave you to that because it is like life as well. It depends on who you're with, how you're going to experiment the things that you're doing. So yeah.
That Love Hearts is for Xates, by the way. And a quick sneak preview, did you actually physically make it, or is there some professional way that you can? I guess we could chat about it completely next time, but how much of the construction was you versus how much was done by a third party?
So going back to the naivety of myself, of deciding, oh yes, I'm going to do a bouncy castle and this is my project. Going back to that, because obviously I thought that I was going to do it myself. I had access to sewing machines. I investigated the materials, and it all seemed like I was going to be able to do it myself. But then I started making the CAD design. The CAD design is the 3D design or the modeling in my tablet, but also in my computer. And I realized how I was not qualified to do something like this. And the more that I investigated about it, the more I realized that it is a serious thing to have something that people, like a structure that people can go inside. There's a lot of health and safety regulations. There's a lot of things that you have to have before you let people in legally, or at least in terms of liability, and make sure that the structure is perfectly made with the exact measurement, like a building. You cannot just go and build something.
Yeah, there's a lots of health and safety requirements that are going to be problematic.
So I realized that it was a very high risk for me to do it myself, and that I would have to do it very fast so I can actually get some certificates at the time that I was going to show it, and it just became overwhelmingly impossible. Especially because I don't even have the sewing skills. I just thought it was going to be more like a DIY project, and it became so much bigger than myself because of the design itself. But not only the design, but the responsibility of, if something happens and someone gets injured or worse in my work, that's gonna be haunting me the rest of my life, to say the least, of the implications of that. So I really wanted to take it in a very serious level and be very professional. So I look for a manufacturer, and I outsourced the manufacturing with the 3D design that I had. They made a replica on it in a special software they have for inflatables that calculates extra measurements that you need to like fold the fabric. It's some kind of like vinyl fabric, plasticky, but it's fabric at the end. So the way you construct it internally is a bit different than just designing it. You have to calculate some extra fabrics in certain areas that it's going to fold, and you have to calculate the airflow to make sure that the air is going to be managed to get everywhere inside the structure, and all those things that I didn't knew before. I thought I was going to figure out on the way, but it happens that I didn't really need to do that anymore. So they did it in this special software they have for inflatables, redo the CAD, or they use my design, put it inside there and modify it a bit. And this was made in China. And yeah, very professional people.
I mean, I think that when it comes to manufacturing of something that's potentially going to impinge upon safety, or indeed something that's mass-produced, I think that's something that you pretty much always want to get outsourced. Yeah. Still, there are very, very few people I know who do everything with regards to a game. And someone in some Facebook group was saying, hey, what do you do? And yeah, I have essentially, on a very small scale, done game design, development, art, LARP. I've done rules writing, rules editing for my own stuff. I've also done consultation for other people. But more than that, now I am kind of a media person, like kind of interviewer. I've done reviews. I've done, yeah, quite regularly as time goes on. And what I've not done, well, I've done a wee bit of distribution, but that's probably the most arguable out of the things I've done. But what I've not done is manufacturing, because Gavin Birnbaum does their own manufacturing. Gavin Birnbaum, who you might remember, who I'm planning to speak to, fingers crossed, in August or September, who makes their own games out of wood in their shed. Like, they laser cuts it, so they've got the machines, and then they use those machines. So it's not like they hand make, but like still they make it. So they put all the stuff into the machine, and that's pretty intense. And one day, yes, exactly. And so the thing that I would one day like to do is to do a very small Kickstarter for, like, I don't know if Kickstarter is even the right place for it, but maybe it should just be a one-off project where, yeah, I want to make a small print run of maybe 10 to 50 games, some number that I can actually paint or draw or construct, maybe with stamps. Maybe it will be potato stamps or rubber stamps, just to have that joy at one time. And back when I was doing the original L deck, true story, I had an idea for a kind of pledge level where if you paid me something like £200, you would get a handmade version, which would be with screen printing, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And so these would be giant cards. They would be about this size, and then.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, but and I'd still love to do something like that. I mean, to be fair, maybe now that there's more awareness of the L deck, maybe I should do it for the, I don't know, 5th year anniversary or 7th year anniversary in a couple of years, and be like, okay, this is the L deck that I actually manufactured, with the letters that I drew and the game that I designed. And that would be quite cool. And you maybe even get instructions that I literally write, like by hand.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very good idea. Like, I'll definitely look for something like that.
But it's like the amounts of work and labor that goes into something like that is kind of a lot, yeah. Which is why, certainly, if you want it to have the joy of everything being slightly individual, like you do with screen printing, then it has to be something like, okay, if you want one of these copies, it costs £200 rather than, yeah, what any normal person would pay for a board game.
I mean, in terms of art, or the lesson that art can tell us here is that maybe you don't need to have multiple copies. You can only have one copy, and then value that a little bit higher. And the reason why is this is that labor that is going to take you to do all the screen printing of one deck, for example. Yes, if it's screen printing specifically, that technique is for reproduction, so you would probably make a few of them. But if it's just like drawing or something like that, I think you can make one of, and sell it a little bit higher than that, because it's more unique in that sense. And
I feel like I would want to keep one copy myself, so I feel like I'd want to have 2 copies. But then, to an extent, that's one really nice thing about mass production, because I have this, and I will always have a copy of this. And, you know, at a certain point, probably I'm going to run out of copies of In a Bind. I still have about 20 copies of In a Bind, but I don't give them away to people. I give them away on very, very specific occasions. Do you know what I mean? Like, this year is going to be the 5-year anniversary, so someone can get In a Bind and the expansions, but at a certain point, I'm going to run out, but I will always have my own copy, and someone else will have their copy. Do you know what I mean? And there's something really nice about that.
Are you not allowed to reprint in a bind?
No, I'm literally, well, A, there's not even any reason for me. B, it would be difficult, but C, it would also be not something that Gigamic would want me to do. I know that Gavin Birnbaum did a specific thing with the board game tables, where Q4U, Gavin is allowed to print something like 50 copies of the game per year, because 50 copies of the game, it doesn't affect a big company at all. But for me, when I'm mass producing, if I'm mass producing, I always wanted to make it more. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it were a game like a game where a new bladder, I mean, maybe, I mean, even this, when I make this, I want this to be a mass produced item. I don't want it to just be one copy of something that is completely covered with text, because this is very much, for me, an art piece. And the fact, and the kind of true art piece is going to be when it is in a board game shop, and it's like every other game. You've got a picture on it, you've got, you know, clear hierarchy of information, and the fact that this is basically literally just a wall of text, that is the joke. It's like, you know, that is the fact that it doesn't really belong.
Yeah, I love it. And
yeah,
it really attracts a very unique pool of people who want to find out something interesting when they go and shop for games or go and discover games.
Now, I said nearly an hour ago that we should start stopping, but at this point, let's us talk about things we're looking forward to and hopes and ambitions that we might have. So, things I am looking forward to personally, I am looking forward. Actually, can't think of anything for right today, but what I am looking forward to, combined with my hope and ambition, is all about Best Day. And just to say, there is a form that, if someone could double check this in the comments, and please make sure that my link is correct. And if you follow that link, then you will go to the In a Bind. I'm just going to paste it into my window, and this is what I get. So, excellent. I don't get to see the behind the scenes bit today. So you put in your email address, you basically upload your competition entries, and your competition entries you can use this file, or you can use a copy of In a Bind or Yogi to enter and send a photo of yourself doing things, or even a mannequin or any sort of photo. But yeah, that is a competition entry that you can all enter, and the winner will get, if they don't already have it, In a Bind and In a Bind expansions. But more importantly, the winner will get drawn in the style of In a Bind. So this is like a style where, you know, I think I drew 54 cards in this style, and you can see them all up on the Twitter. And yeah, Xate says, Xate is totally winning the In a Bind competition unless all of you send in pictures too, because so far Xate is totally winning, and that is definitely true. And yeah, thank you, Xate. Also on 31st, 1st and 2nd, I am having special celebrations. In the mornings, I am doing a special show. I'm just going to be unboxing my previous games. I'm going to be unboxing In a Bind, then In a Bind expansions, and on the Sunday, I might unbox a French copy of Yogi, because why not? I've plenty of French copies of Yogi. And then I don't know what I'll do with those after I do the unboxing. Maybe on the Sunday, I'll give all 3 of those games away to someone, just unbox them, and then give the basically never played versions, okay, to someone. That can be, and every day at 2 p.m. there is going to be a competition, because I like when I'm at an event to have a 2 p.m. event, and so we're going to have a 2 p.m. game, but the 2 p.m. competition is going to run at the same time but be completely separate. So the competition is going to be something like telling me a silly idea for In a Bind, and you need to use a keyword, something like I do on Thursdays. And we will be playing a crazy game that I wanted to ask, potentially, Xate, I wanted to talk to you after this show, if that's okay, for a couple of minutes. So we are going to be playing In a Bond, which is completely different to In a Bind. So basically, in a bond, some people are going to be contorting, and those people are the companies, and then everyone else is going to be trading in these stocks. And you want to, the more binds that someone has on them, the more expensive the company is. But at some point, the cards or the companies will literally collapse. And if cards fall down or someone stops doing the thing, then the share price plummets to 0. And so it's almost like a push your luck. It's quite ridiculous, because don't take it overly seriously. And I was thinking about rules that might be a little bit more fair, and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of an unfair, silly, ridiculous game, but that's just what it is. I need to lean into that. And yeah, In a Bond, that's the 2 p.m. game, and then afterwards I'm just chatting with people, and Xate is going to be there all of Friday and Saturday, which I'm super excited about. So we're going to have a good string of people. We're going to have Kathleen Mercury on Sunday. Sorry you don't get to meet them, Xate. But we're also having Alan Paul on, and Ben Neumann, who was the original person who made me make In a Bind. And so I'm so happy that they're able to come on. And I'm fingers crossed I'm going to have one of my best friends on, Liz, if they're able to talk on the show. And everyone is welcome to join in. Let me know if you're interested, including you, Tiz. Let me know right now if you're interested.
I'm already being part of. I am already part of it.
Amazing. So
I think I'm in the. Well, I signed up for.
Yes, you did. I think you did. There's a lot on my mind, and I really apologize for kind of not keeping a perfect track. But I'm super excited to have you be part of it.
2 different events. If there's 2 different events, then maybe I'm not sure now.
No, it's just a long. I'm basically streaming 24 hours over 3 days, so we're going to see what happens. And yeah, that's what I am looking forward to, and my hope and ambition is for that, and also the LDEC design competition, but there's already a good number of entries for that. So if you want to check that out, go onto my Twitter or my Facebook or the LDEC page on Facebook, Board Game Geek Thoughts by Bez. And what are you looking forward to? What are your hopes and ambitions? Let me know. Tiz.
Oh, me? I thought you were like asking the
audience, but also you. Do you have things you're looking forward to?
Yes, I actually I am. As I told you recently, I started designing a new bouncy castle. It's not done, and it's not that I have a place to show it. So it kind of.
Oh wow!
And then it's gonna be like a drawing of a face inside the red bit, and then these things are gonna have like some sort of texture, maybe some dots. It's not finished yet. It's a rough sketch, but I got very, very excited about that. There is this kind of like competition that I don't know if I'm gonna get it, because I don't know if this is what they're looking for, but I was motivated to design a new one, and hopefully one day I'll find the funds to make it happen, because it is a challenge. It's not any other thing that I can just go on and do, not only because of the price tag of making it and manufacturing it, which is quite a lot, but also the bit of storing it, and like I'm not gonna do something that I have no place to show. But I'm super happy that I finally did it, because I've been wanting to do a new design for a very long time, and I just did it yesterday. It was just in one sit. I did it. And I'm very excited on that. I'm also doing I'm gonna start doing a chat bot, which is, when you go to a web page, a service and then you have a chat, but you know that you're not chatting with a person, you're chatting with an AI.
So you want it to make it obvious. You're not trying to pass the Turing test or anything like that.
Yeah, no, it's not about. It's more about, you're clearly talking to a computer that has automatic responses to what you're saying, in terms of whether you're using AI or you're not using AI, and you basically call like a visual novel. You call the possible responses, and then you click on them and you go from that. Anyways, I found that tutorial on how to do one of those, and I've really been looking forward to doing it. And I wanted to do something about toxicity in a way, just because I had a recent not so good experience with a teamwork, and I'm in certain groups in Facebook about people outing toxic or predators and things on the internet and stuff like that. So there's a lot of content that draw me to try to make like a chat bot that you chat with, and it's super toxic, and it's just trying to pull you down in all its force.
Oh, pardon me.
Yeah, and I'm also gonna do some little painting. So there's many things that I'm looking forward to. Depends on on what you ask about, because I should be doing some other stuff, but I'm just doing
just
things.
A couple of the highlights, and Alan Outson is apparently having people who are still having fun and is looking forward to cleaning up. I'm kind of quite curious about that. Are you looking forward to it because you enjoy cleaning up, or are you looking forward to it because you're looking forward to essentially having your son's friends away? Because at that point they will be gone. And Xates, that's lovely for you to say. Xates is talking about, you will have fun with me, and fun is dangerous and addictive.
It is.
And also looking forward to playtesting. And you're allowed to enjoy the same things every day. That is totally fine. And yep, Alan Oughton says yes and yes. So Alan Oughton does enjoy cleaning and does enjoy. Wow, if Alan Oughton, yeah, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole of asking Alan to come and clean for me. So as we finish up, if you want to find Tiz, you can go down there if you want to read it out, Tiz, or not.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Tiz, T-I-Z. Is that how we say it? Creel, Creel. And you can find me anywhere with that name. So my website, tizcreel.com, my Instagram, Twitter, tizcreel at tizcreel, my email, tizcreel@gmail.com, or contact@tizcreel.com. So it's pretty easy to find me. Board Game Geek, whatever. Just type in my name, and please get in contact. Feel free to send me a DM, to send me a message if you want to know a bit more, or you want to chat with me. I'm pretty open to that.
And I am not, well, to be fair, you don't have a Facebook. You should have a Facebook page, so I'm ahead of you in that. So I am stuffbybez.com, twitter.com/stuffbez, instagram.com/stuffbez, twitch.tv/stuffbez, facebook.com/thingsbybez. Yeah, I'll need to get Chris or someone to help me next week because it's doing my head in. stuffbybez@gmail.com. And that is me. And to recap, we have learned that art is basically whatever you say it is to some extent. The line between entertainment and art is either definite or non-existent, depending on who you ask. And that ultimately life is all about having fun. And that's also at some point in the future, you will be able to playtest Seize the Power. So join in with that. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to Alan for joining in. Thank you for Sate. Thank you to Aquasulis for popping in, and Dave Wedderall, and everyone else who's been respectful and kind of chiming along, and everyone who's lurking and is just enjoying it. Thank you, and I hope that you've had a wonderful time. Now, and most importantly, thank you to Tiz.
Hi, thanks to you, Bess. It was very lovely to have this morning with you. And yeah, we'll keep on talking, keep the conversation going, and yeah, let's talk about Seize the Power next time.
Yeah, for sure. When the what's it called again? Tabletopia, that's the one. When the Tabletopia thing is ready, then let's do a thing. I'm actually hoping to have Mark Harris of Tabletopia on at some point later in the month. But yeah. Anyway, wrapping up. I don't have anything more to say. Do you have anything more to say?
No, have a lovely day, everyone. Enjoy the marvelous weekend that we have ahead. Maybe in London, not so marvelous right now, but will maybe soon.
Beautiful white skies.
Yeah, that's true. Full white skies, very windy.
Not the slightest bit of black.
Not the slightest bit of black in the sky, nor blue, nor any other color. Just plain white. But really enjoy the weekend, playing a bunch of games, and as we spoke today, fun is very important, and we should allow ourselves to have fun with whatever we do, whether it's working or playing games or just enjoying in the couch, watching a film, weekend style, or drinking cider. I'm kidding.
Unless you're Alan. And no, I'm not going to keep this going just to make it 2 hours long. You know, honestly, I'm likely to break some records next weekend anyway when I'm doing the unboxing. So if you want a super long thing, then look forward to that next weekend. As I always say, please share and spread the word. Oh dear, I need to write more things here. My next streams, I've only got my Ask Me Anything tomorrow, where I'm sure I was talking about something specific tomorrow. I'm going to be talking about all sorts of stuff. It's like one of those reviewing the weeks where I have a solo show and I get to chat about games I've recently played. I'll do a quick overview of everything. I'll, mainly chat about Bez Day a little bit, but also little bits about streaming and whatnot. it's basically going to be my monthly check-in with myself, about streaming and everything. Am I enjoying it? Yeah, I am. Am I going to keep doing it? Yeah, I am. What am I going to do after this whole thing goes away? I don't know, and probably I don't need to work it out until things change. But as this becomes more and more a thing, I am going to move towards probably starting to do some playthroughs and stuff, which I might talk about. But yeah, those are my next streams, and so please share the word that I am here every day at 10 a.m. Tuesday we will be back, or at 8 p.m. as always. And this Tuesday we're playing some party games from Nigeria, which should be quite interesting. Some Nigerian games are for young kids, and I don't like them so much. Some games are for adults, and I like them more because I am an adult. Hey, what's a surprise? And there is only one thing left to do. And the one thing left to do, let me, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not one of these people who says, "Hey, am I enjoying this? Find out in tomorrow's stream." I mean, come on, you all know the answer. That's like, do you know what I mean? I hate it when people. So Dave Gorman was talking about the start of this one show where they say, "Hey, we are in a beautiful castle in the middle of nowhere. Now, this was a place invented by King Henry, built under the rule of King Henry VIII. Do you know where I am? Well, find out right after the intro. And then the intro will play, and then you'll find out where they are. But if you looked in the TV listings, or if you watched the same channel, like 30 seconds before they started, yeah, they say it anyway. But like also, even that whole practice of American, oh, we're going to talk about this right after this break. American shows are much worse. We're going to talk about this later on in the show. It's teasing. It is ridiculous. I don't like it. And I will have none of that rubbish on this show. I just want to... Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. Now it's time to go. Do. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show.
It has been doing your best because we still have
bye. And now it's time to go.